Hello, and welcome to our live stream by Bybit Learn. My name is Han. Hope you are joining in right on time here. We've got plenty to cover as we look ahead at the coming week. So I'll just give it a few more seconds or at least a couple of minutes for folks to kind of join us. Do give us a shout out if you are watching this either via X or via YouTube. So do let us know, okay? Give me a shout out. Tell me where you're watching from. It'd be really great to hear from you guys. Yeah, looks like we are live on YouTube. Very nice. And I believe we are live on X as well. Feel free to give me a thumbs up, folks, if you are indeed watching. It'll be really, really cool. Give the algo some time to populate everything before we begin. Hope you guys had a great week. Well, markets are moving, but clearly not as volatile as what we had seen last month. But again, markets clearly are trying to get a clear catalyst for really making another big move, or at least making more of a directional move from here on out. So yeah, and certainly here at Bybit Learn, we're going to keep you updated on what is happening, what's happening in the markets, not just in cryptos, but we are going to be looking at TradFi as well. Okay, so make sure you keep tuning in and checking out our website. Again, this is specifically for Bybit Learn. You can just Google it and you'll find it easy enough. Okay. All right. Looks like we can begin. All right. Cool. Let's just get right to it. So again, thank you all so much for joining. Oh, wrong format. Let's go with this one. Yeah, that will make you guys see things clearer. Okay, so we have got a relatively eventful week coming up, right? So we understand that, look, there's so many opportunities across the markets, and there are so many places that you can look at. And I'm sure as you guys browse around on X, on all your various social media platforms, you'll be seeing a constant flow of noise, right? And we get it. There's so much to look out for. So for this chat, we're going to give you a nice cross section against some of these various assets. So as you can see on the screen here, you've got we're going to highlight a specific index. We've also got a forex pair, and we've got a new listing, a new token listing on right here on Bybit as well. Okay, so lots of exciting stuff to look out for, and of course, there's going to be plenty more. So again, keep in mind that we will be doing these live streams on a daily basis. So make sure you keep coming back 2 p.m. GMT. All right. So here's some of the stuff that we're looking out for. Tell you what, let me just. Okay, tell you what, before we go any further, how about this? Look, we understand that, well, at least in my opinion, look, learning in and of itself should be reward enough, but we here at Bybit Learn, we do want to make it that much sweeter, right? So here's a quick reminder about all the goodies that we have in store. So for these daily live streams, be sure to click or scan that QR code that you see on the screen, and you could be in the running for your share of 25,000 USDT in rewards, and potentially more as well. When you scan the QR code, you land onto a page on the Bybit website, specifically Bybit Learn, and we've got loads of different campaigns where if you do different tasks, you will then get even more rewards beyond your share of this 25,000 USDT. Again, slots are limited, so make sure you scan that QR code now and make sure you sign up. And on top of that, for those of you who are perhaps viewing this for the first time and are not familiar with Bybit, or at least don't have your Bybit accounts yet, for new Bybit users, we have got an additional task and an additional reward for you guys as well. Okay, so in other words, for new users specifically, you automatically get like a leg up on the Bybit OGs, so to speak. So make sure you take advantage of that. Okay, and of course, for the Bybit OGs, they're always asking for more and more stuff, and we get it. We hear ya. So hey, feel free to scan the QR code, right? And you will see all those different tasks, all the different side quests that you can take advantage of to make sure this becomes a truly rewarding experience beyond just the learnings that we have for you here at Bybit Learn. Okay, cool. All right. Before we jump into what's coming up in the coming week, we're also going to look at just a quick recap on what I shared yesterday in case of those of you who missed it. So this was the setup that we had, and for the so for gold and Bitcoin, we know it's really, really popular among you guys. So here's the potential setup. If you missed it, you can feel free to check out yesterday's live stream. Again, it's on our YouTube channel and also on X, but specifically for Bybit Learn. Okay, look out for Bybit Learn, not the official global Bybit account. We do some stuff over there as well, but this one is specifically for the Learn channel. Okay, so here's the setup that we have for you, and look, a lot of it is happening as we speak, right? So remember yesterday we spoke about that psychologically important 4,000 level, and sure enough, if you look at yesterday's candlestick, again, this chart is for the daily, right? Daily time frame. In other words, each of these blocks here for you folks who are not familiar with looking at these charts, you think it's intimidating. Let me just quickly explain. Each of these blocks or candlesticks represents how the price of gold or whatever asset you're looking at in this chart is the price of gold, how it fared in that day. Okay, so obviously a red candlestick means that the prices ended lower. The green candlestick, the prices ended higher. But if you look at what happened yesterday, right, we spoke about the 4,000 psychological level acting as resistance, right? So once again, it's staying true to form, right? So prices went above 4K for a little bit, but then markets had doubt. Prices came back down. What was interesting is that we also highlighted the 9-day simple moving average, right? And look at it now. Yesterday and today, it's now acting as support, right? So again, as a recap, support being like, think of it like a floor, right? When prices hits that support, it tends to bounce right off, and resistance means a ceiling, right? So, or suggests that it's a ceiling. So when prices hit that resistance, it generally tends to bounce back down. Okay, so right now you've got this, at least for those of you who are hoping that gold prices will go up, it seems like at least from yesterday and today, we are seeing this support at the 9-day simple moving average. But once again, that 4,000 psychological level, that is the key test, right? So going back to my the table that I showed you guys earlier, you do need that daily close above it. But from a fundamental perspective, fundamental being, the reason why a price or an asset should behave the way it does, right? You need this fundamental spark for it to really lurch back higher above 4,000. Okay, so markets are generally still kind of waiting for that. So for right now, it's still this battle zone around the 4K mark. Okay, so yeah, this is just an update from what we shared yesterday. Some of these things, right, behaving just as we said. And similarly, if we look at this Bitcoin chart, right, we spoke about, again, the psychological level, that 100,000 mark, right? This is absolutely crucial for so many reasons that we already spoke about yesterday. So look at what happened back in June. Prices dipped below slight, but then, again, like a floor, just bounced right back up. And same thing, right? We have seen in 3 of the past 4 days, including today, right? Prices dipped below, but then just came back up. So it seems like that support is being tested. And the key question now is, will 100K hold? Right? Because if you go back to the scenarios that I showed you earlier, if you see this daily close below 100K, that could be seen as a bearish sign for Bitcoin. Bearish meaning that markets then expect prices to keep falling if that support doesn't hold, right? So the next immediate target is the 95K level region. Why 95K? Again, you just go back to recent history. You go back to around May here, and you see this battleground between prices, just gravitating around 95K. And then similarly, if you look at from late last year coming to this year, right, 95K was this support zone that we saw for quite a few months, right? So wouldn't be surprised if that 100K support fails, markets just naturally immediately gravitate towards that 95K as the next target to the downside. Okay, so yeah, it looks like the bulls kind of have it tough going for them right now, but we'll have to wait and see. But for now, at least as I speak, 100K still being that ever so stubborn support level. Okay. Now let me just go back to the slideshow here, if I can find it. Let me just see where it is. Apologies, folks. Yeah, just keep looking at the Bloomberg, the Bitcoin chart for a bit. Okay, so let's go back to the slides here now. So that's a recap of what we had shared from yesterday, and we'll go back into this slide. Okay, so for the coming week, okay, this is one of the things I'm highlighting is the China H Index. Question is, will it hit a fresh 4-year high? Okay, now I'll just explain some of the events that are going on over there in China that could move this China H Index. And before we go to the charts, okay, and keep in mind that all these assets that I'm showing you, you can find them on Bybit, be it the app or the web trading platform. For this one in particular, you just got to go to the TradFi, that's TRADFI, the TradFi tab. Look under indices or indexes or index, and then you will see this China H, right? Just got to hover over there. Okay, so it's a pretty eventful week next week. Okay, so for those of you single people out there, hey, November 11th coming right up. Okay, Singles Day, and so you do have these announcements coming out of the likes of Alibaba and JD.com. These companies are very much exposed to the consumer in China, like how much are those people spending, especially around this very special sales season, right? And so they do come out with announcements. Last year was actually a pretty good year, but Alibaba's stock actually rose on November 11th, 2024. But there were, and there still are, some concerns around really just how strong these Chinese consumers are actually spending, right? So that gain didn't really last long, but it's still something to keep an eye out for. You've also got earnings from big Chinese tech companies like Tencent, right? Tencent of WeChat fame, and of course you may have seen them from their video games and movies and what have you. But they're very much a massive tech player there. Now keep in mind that the Tencent stock alone accounts for 8.4% of the Hang Seng China Enterprises Index. Now, what is this Hang Seng China Enterprises Index? It is the main index which is tracked by Bybit's China H Index. Okay, so in other words, when you see the China H Index on Bybit's TradFi platform, okay, just know that it tracks, the actual thing it tracks is this thing called the Hang Seng China Enterprises Index. Real quick, let's do a 101. What is an index? So for an index, imagine it as a way to measure something. Okay, let me repeat that. An index is a way to measure something. So when you hear stuff like consumer price index, right, it's a way to measure consumer prices or inflation. Okay, for this stock index, it measures this basket of stocks. Okay, and specifically these are stocks of companies in China that are listed in Hong Kong. Okay, so you've got names like, again, Alibaba, JD.com, Tencent that you see here on the screen, and many more. Okay, so that one company alone, that one stock alone, Tencent, accounts for over 8% of this index. Okay, and then you look at JD.com, okay, a bit smaller, but again, still very much a consumer play, and not just that, but global logistics as well, right? They ship stuff all over the world. They account for 2.1% of the index. And Alibaba, it is the biggest stock on this in this basket of stocks, this index, right? So why is that number important? Why is that percentage number important? And the reason being, given its weightage, or like how big or how much it represents of that index or that basket, when it moves, it has enough power or weight to move the entire index as well. Okay, so that's why, if you look at any of these stock indices, be it the S&P 500, which you may have heard, that measures U.S. stock markets, is a basket of 500 U.S. leading names, right? The big ones like Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, or Meta, right? When those stocks move, it has the power to move the entire index as well. Same thing for this China H index. Okay, so next week you've got all these big hitters having their earnings. So of course, if they have earnings that excite markets, it could push the broader China H index higher as well. Or if Tencent, JD.com, Alibaba, they disappoint markets, right? Maybe their earnings, not just from the last quarter, but their future predictions, their outlook for future earnings is also doesn't quite live up to markets' expectations. If the stock falls, given its weight, it could also drag the China H index lower. Okay, so now if we look at the chart here, we just go to this China H index here. Okay, so again, it's been moving sideways, right, for the most part. And you again, this nice round number of 9,200. You can see earlier this year, or just a couple of months ago, it was acting as resistance. Remember that key concept again that we spoke about, right? Like ceiling, right? Hits 9,200, comes back down, hit it again, came back down, and tried multiple times. It finally broke through in around mid-September, right? But again, right, it didn't last long. Then it kind of acted as support for a while, and definitely more so yesterday and today, right? So even though with right now as you speak, 9204.25, right, close enough to that psychological level, markets are aware it's a psychological level that they have to ask themselves, okay, what needs to happen in order for the price of this China H index to be below 9,200, or it can just bounce right back off, right? That recent high here, right, again, it's not very far away. It's only about 5-ish% away, less than 6% away, right? So depending on how next week's events pan out, that I showed you in the slide earlier, that could determine whether or not we see a new, at least year to date high, if not a new 4-year high for this China H index. Okay, something to look out for. Okay, now going back to the slides here, we've covered one index. Here's another idea for you. Let's go over now to a forex pair. And probably many of you know this. If you guys have taken holidays in the UK or are watching from the UK as well, hello folks. All right, the GBPUSD are very much traded among retail traders. Of course, this is the currencies of two of the biggest Western economies, or two of the biggest economies in the world, right? The UK versus the US dollar. So question is, will we see a new 7-month low? And stay tuned for this, because later I'm going to show you this really cool forecast model that we have from Bloomberg, right? And that will maybe help answer the question whether we'll see this really drastic or really notable 7-month low. Okay, here's what to look out for. Now, I know for those of you who are perhaps new to all this might seem kind of boring, but just know this, okay? Markets want to assess the currency based on how strong that economy is. Okay, so that's why markets look at data like that surrounds the jobs market, or the GDP. GDP is just economic growth. How much is that economy growing? Or industrial production, it shows how much are these factories or all these manufacturers in the UK, how much are they producing, and whether it's growing or are they facing problems, right? Is the job market facing problems? Is the UK market, is the UK economy facing problems? So it's all this data that's coming out in the days ahead. And based on this data, or the strength or the state of the UK economy, the central bank may have to react. We saw them just had a decision just last week, and now markets are thinking, well, hey, maybe the UK interest rates have to fall or have to be lowered in December. I'll show you some numbers around that in just a bit, right? But just, if nothing else, just know this: markets react to this stuff. These are the fundamental stuff, the stuff that you won't get just from looking at the price charts alone. Okay, and whether you like it or not, some of these events, maybe not so much for these economic data prints per se, but certainly how it informs the UK central bank, which is called the Bank of England, right? Markets forward expectations for how the Bank of England will react given the state of the UK economy. that can move GBPUSD. Okay, so when it hit a 7-month low, we will see. So let's look at the chart here real quick. Again, psychological level that we're going to point out, right? 1.300. Hope you guys can see this on my chart here. I'm just going to wait for it to show up. Yes, it's showing on my streaming platform, waiting for it to show up on YouTube as well. Yeah, I think you guys can see it. Okay, so look once again at the behavior of GBPUSD when it approaches that 130 level, right? You go back to August, resistance, ceiling, hits it, well, breaches it for a little bit, then comes right back down. Okay, same thing, right? Around sorry, this was October of last year, right? It support for a while, then turned resistance, came back down. You look at earlier this year around March, resistance came back down, right? Even this spike above it was short-lived, came back down, and then finally, because of the weaker dollar, you had this period of this FX pair being above 130, this psychological level. Of course, there are many other psychological levels between here and there, but I just want to highlight this. It's most pertinent because, once again, just a few days ago, it once again acted its role as a support, right? I will try and zoom. Yeah, tell you what, let me just kind of zoom in a little bit so you guys can see closer. I wanted to have this zoomed out view so that you can see, how, even from last year, right, it acted. This big round number 1.300 can act as that key support or resistance, right? And sure enough, just a few days ago, middle of this week, right? Once again, support, at least close enough. Okay, so this is something to watch. And then here's another fun one, right? So once again, look at that 9-day simple moving average that I highlighted in the other chart as well. Right now, acting as resistance, right? You saw that resistance also happening around here. This was around mid or late October, second half of October or so, right? Then you see it playing its role as support. I think this was around, early October, right? So again, some of these, I'm just highlighting some of these key technical indicators, or very simple to use technical indicators that you can populate on your Bybit charts as well, okay? You just got to look for this tab here called indicators, and you can just plug it in. Again, this one is called the 9-day moving average. Okay. All right. So that's GBPUSD. Now, earlier I promised you this. Let's look at what some of these forecast models say. Can we see a sustained breach below 130? Which would mark the lowest level since April. Okay, here we are in November. I can't believe the year is almost done, but we are almost there, right? And we haven't seen prices below 130 since April. So let's consult this really nifty tool I have called the Bloomberg terminal. Let me try and make it a big screen here so you guys can see this better. Okay. So try and formulate your thoughts here. What do you guys think? Let's see what the Bloomberg terminal says, right? The short answer is no. Okay, so if you look at, again, to be very clear, okay, none of this is trading advice. Let's be absolutely clear about that. Check out the sticker on the mic here that says do your own research, right? DYOR. Yeah, that's the one, right? So this is just meant as a guide, okay? I won't get into the technical details of how this model actually works, but just know this, at least based on this one model, this guide, for the coming week between now and November 14th, it's likely 76.4% probability, right? It's likely that maybe the lowest it can go is 1.3006 from current levels. Okay, this is a constantly evolving model, right? It's in real time. So if you ask me this, 10, 30, 60 minutes from now, those numbers might change. But from current price levels, if you were looking to perhaps enter a trade in anticipation of what's happening next week for GBPUSD, this model can be a guide. Again, not 100%. It's not a crystal ball, not 100% guaranteed. It's just another guide. Okay. Oops. There we go. Let me just go back here. So 130, there's going to be a key question mark. And of course, same thing. If we do see a daily close above the 9-day moving average. This is the purple line, right? That can be seen as a bullish sign, perhaps even going up to the upper bound of what the model said, but that's a 1 week timeline. Yeah. So again, these are the daily charts. I'm kind of giving it more room in case you guys are watching this, not live, but perhaps watching the replay on YouTube later. So hopefully that potential opportunity, that setup as we call it, could still be in play. Okay. Otherwise, but for now, 130, that's the psychological level. Okay. All right. So that's GBPUSD. Will it hit a new 7-month low? Well, according to the Bloomberg model, for right now, maybe not. Okay. Now here's another interesting one. Let's go to the slideshow. Oops. Just bear with me here, folks. So, so how about this? Okay, now for you crypto aficionados, you crypto fans, which we know that many of you here within the Bybit universe, of course, being the world's second largest crypto exchange by trading volume. So there is something to look out for. We know you guys love this stuff. That we've got a new listing coming up on Monday. It's for the Canton Network. So just as a bit of an intro, the Canton Network is the first public permissionless blockchain purpose-built for institutional finance, which is really interesting because, just earlier, a week ago, this time last week, we did a live stream about perpetual decentralized exchanges, and one of the points was, there is this blurring of lines between centralized and decentralized world, and also there is this assimilation, right, between mainstream finance or TradFi, traditional finance, with the crypto world, or even the Web3 space, right? So, here's one of those active players who are looking at actually, again, bridging that gap, specifically for institutional finance. All that means is, just think of the big money players, right? Think of your banks and your, huge funds and your, sovereign wealth funds and what have you, institutional, like the big boys. Okay. So, this going to be kind of interesting. Feel free to check out the Bybit website for more information as well, and keep your eye out for this on November 10th. Okay. So I think, we're just a couple of minutes under. Pretty cool stuff. I thank you for those who are watching right now. We see more viewers on YouTube today than yesterday. Look, this is only our second time for these daily live streams by Bybit Learn. But by all means, hey, if you got a question, pop them down in the live chat. We have it on X as well. Feel free to give us a shout out, and I'll be more than happy to try and answer any questions that you have. If not, nothing else, just a reminder that, again, for these daily live streams, we've set aside a pool of 25,000 USDT in rewards and potentially more, right? All you got to do is just scan that QR code. And especially if you are a new user, you don't have a Bybit account yet, if you sign up, you could potentially get even more rewards, because when you scan that QR code, you'll land on a page that gives you all these side quests or these tasks that you can accomplish, and that can give you rewards and points. And so it's beyond just the 25,000 USDT that we have just for these live streams, but it's also within the Bybit universe. You can go and perform your side quests and get rewarded as well. Okay, as we say, learn more, earn more. Right. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions really on on social media. Let me just give it a bit of time. Right. So thank you for those who are watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a exciting weekend. And perhaps for those of you who are in the shopping mood, I know here, in the UAE, already those Singles Days promos are already being advertised from all the big retailers. So perhaps you can take advantage of that. But not just that, right? Take advantage of what's happening in the markets as well. So even though markets are relatively quiet right now, again, with the US government shutdown, markets are almost flying blind, perhaps. All the usual stuff like US inflation, US jobs data, we're not really getting it. So it's kind of like in this wait and see mode. We have to look at other places, but there's plenty more still going in the markets, plenty more still going on. right? Central banks are still having their meetings. They are still making their decisions. You've still got, well, obviously what's happening on the trade front, what's happening with the US government, right? So, it's still stuff to keep us on our toes, certainly here at Bybit Learn. So make sure you take advantage of what we can share, and feel free to share your insights with us as well, right? If there's something that's really catching your eye, right, feel free to let us know. Give us a shout out. Okay. All right. That's it. So we'll just end on the dot here. Hey, I want to get my weekend started as well, as I'm sure you do. So thank you so much. Don't forget to take advantage of this special giveaway, and I'll see you again on Monday. All right. Take care. Have a great weekend.